Which misconception would you like to debunk? Touching a baby bird is not going to cause its mother to abandon it. An old wives' tale designed to stop kids messing with young chicks has now caused a generation of people to pass on this old belief without ever being corrected. Yes, if you see a baby bird on the ground, chances are its mother kicked it out to teach it to fly or something. But if you need to cut the grass, mow the lawn, you can lift it and put it back in its nest. Its mother isn't going to abandon it just because you touched it. That's like thinking a human mother would abandon a baby because a cat rubbed its butt on it. I work at a store that sells work boots with safety toes. Please don't propagate the myth that you need to go a size up to make space for the toe. You want that thing as snug as possible, without your toes touching the safety toe. Loose means you move, and your toes will bump against the safety toe. Y'all are the reason all my customers have ducked up toes. Mind your business. There is no skip all the floors button combination on any elevator you're going to be in. And even if there is one, there's no way you'll find it. I'm an elevator lover, and I have family in the elevator repair business. So I've spent a lot of time listening to elevator stories, and doing my own research. All those pictures and posts about how if you hold the button and the closed door button you skip the calls are all lies. Especially the ones that say it's for emergency services. Emergency services that would realistically need this kind of control over an elevator have keys to turn the elevator into fire mode, which does indeed skip all floor calls. If a building owner wanted an elevator to be able to ignore calls without fire emergency operation mode, there's another way. Called independent service mode, sometimes called operator's service, like the old-time elevator operator who sat in the elevator and drove it all day. Independent service is also usually key activated, though it could be activated through a button at the front desk, on a computer, or in the controller room at the top of the shaft manually. In 30 years of elevator installation and repair, my uncle says he has never once seen an elevator that had a button combination set up to do anything like that without first inserting an operator's key. The only exception being in hospitals' freight elevators, which usually have a code blue button on the inside panel and the outside call buttons. But those are usually employee access only, and there is an understanding in a hospital that you don't just hit that button for no reason. There is no such thing as aircraft grade aluminum, it's just a marketing scam. We use many different grades and tempers depending on the application. Did you know that Aston Martin only source leather for their cars from cows that don't live in a field surrounded by barbed wire, because that could leave imperfections in the leather? Abraham Lincoln's famous log cabin was not built during his lifetime. This was built 30 years after his death by entrepreneur Alfred Dennett. I was always told he was born in the log cabin that he, himself, built. There is no specific Plymouth Rock, but there is an enshrined rock that someone basically picked out and people pilgrimage to. I was barred from participating in a school swimming race because I ate some chocolate beforehand and a teacher caught me. She said I would get a cramp and die and I had to wait 20 minutes. Even 8-year-old me knew it was complete twaddle. Your teacher had money on another kid. When you have an IV cannula inserted, a needle is used to insert the cannula, but then the needle is removed and you're left with a tiny thin plastic tube in the vein. I think 50% of my patients don't realize there's not a needle in their arm for hours, days on end. I work as a ride operator at Disneyland, and please just let me say this. The purple teacup doesn't spin any faster than the rest of them. Please stop getting into fights over it. Ted Bundy's looks isn't how he was able to lure women. It was a numbers game with him and he asked many girls to help him out, and many refused. But of the many, all he needed was one to help. The ones that walked away later reported him, saying he gave off a creepy vibe. A proposal to make German the official language of the United States of America was defeated in Congress by one vote. It's easily debunked by common sense. Seriously, why would they do this? And congressional records. The myth likely comes from the fact that a proposal to adjourn and discuss at a later time a petition to have laws translated to German for German-speaking residents was defeated by one vote. Flushable wipes aren't flushable. Toilet paper breaks down easy in water, but you ever seen a baby wipe rip up? Those things just end up clogging pipes and ruining the sewers. Hell, New York. Sorry, London. My bad. Found a huge mass of those things, along with a bunch of other junk, the size of a bus in the sewers thanks to those wipes. You can file a missing persons report as soon as the person goes missing. No need to wait 24 hours or whatever. As soon as a person goes missing should be noted as soon as you think something might be wrong. Type 1 diabetics can't eat sugar. Yes, we can. We can eat whatever we want, as long as we take insulin for it. Edit. Thanks for the silver. To clarify a couple points being argued against this, we can eat whatever we want, when our BG is appropriate. For example, I'm not gonna eat 12 bags of Skittles when I'm at 300. Insulin is something we use to manage it, not a complete workaround. No matter what we try, BG levels will never stay perfect. Try to have a little empathy for us. It's a constant chore we have to think about all the time. Edit number 2. Holy skit, thanks for the gold. Autographs will be signed for $30. The teddy bear was named for a bear that Theodore Roosevelt spared on a hunting trip. However, he didn't exactly spare it, and it wasn't exactly out of mercy. There was a professional trapper tracker hunter dude with him whose job was to find a bear for him to kill. However, the bear he found was so pathetic looking that Roosevelt just didn't think it worth his effort. The trapper dude just cut its neck open instead. The boiling frog experiment that's quoted everywhere didn't work. For those not familiar, it is said that you can boil a frog to death by raising the temperature of the water it's in extremely slowly so that it doesn't notice. Well, it only works when parts of the frog's brain are removed. A frog with an intact brain will jump out, no matter how slowly the water is heated. Shaving doesn't make you grow facial hair. My room and car being a mess doesn't prove I don't have OCD. In fact, if I didn't have it, it'd be easier to get things like cleaning done. Giving a cat milk is a very bad idea. Most cats are lactose intolerant and giving them milk will cause stomach problems. That to be sick you have to look sick. There are a lot of people with chronic illness that don't need to deal with septicism along with their symptoms either. I'm touched that people are sharing their struggles. I hope others will read them and understand a little more. That something needs to be direly wrong in your life before you should see a therapist. You can gain so much from therapy, even if you're not critically distressed. There isn't a dead body being transported on all or most commercial airlines. Seriously, what airline or airport has all these corpses going back and forth? I work the ramp at O'Hare. I might see a corpse being transported once a month and maybe handle one once a year. Now if you ever see the fire department and police lined up at a plane coming into a gate, not following the plane as if it was an emergency, chances are there is a fallen service member or someone notable that is being transported to their final resting place. The myth. Napoleon was really short. The truth. He was actually average height, or even a little bit above average height. How did it come about? The archaic French measurement used stated he was around 5 feet 3, when in actuality that translates to about 5 feet 7 in today's measurements, which was average for the time. That I can't have sugar because I'm a type 1 diabetic. I slept over at a friend's house for their birthday, and her mom refused me cake, ice cream, and only let me have a cup of popcorn. I can eat everything you can eat. Edit. Thanks for the gold WTF. Before sleepovers and birthday parties, my mom would always meet with the other kids' mom to explain everything to her, that I was very good at managing my diabetes, and as long as everything was measured and I gave myself insulin, I could eat the same stuff as all the other kids. I always have eaten very healthy to keep my diabetes under control, but it's nice to have something sweet every once in a while. So birthday parties were something I looked forward to because I got to eat cake and ice cream. My friends' moms were always scared of accidentally killing me, so they never wanted to feed me anything in case I went into DKA or something. I understand where my friend's mom was coming from, but it just made me feel really left out and it pissed my mom off too. Also, popcorn is actually pretty good for you as long as it's not drowning in butter and salt. It was air popped and had nothing on it, so that's why she let me eat it. I doubt anyone on Reddit is young enough to still believe this skit, but God knows I did for the longest time. Turning on the light in the backseat of the car while your parents are driving is not illegal. My mom lied to me for my entire life, and it literally took me looking like an idiot in someone else's car to figure out I had been scammed. that few people lived past their 30s in the Middle Ages or some other ancient era. This misconception arises because of an automatic and incorrect assumption people make when they hear the statistic the average life expectancy was 35 in the Middle Ages. In reality, there have always been lots of people who lived to 70 plus years old in all societies. The difference was that in the Middle Ages there were many childhood diseases that caused a much higher childhood mortality rate, which skews the numbers much lower. If you survived childhood, there was a very good chance you would make it into your 60s plus. I didn't actually skid my pants in 4th grade. Garrett put a barbecue sauce packet in my chair before I sat down. A lot of people seem to think that Easter Island is a great environmental fable. A small island, almost the most remote place on Earth, cut down all of their trees to build giant head statues, resulting in the collapse of their society and extinction. Except that native Easter Islanders didn't go extinct. They are still there. The collapse of their society was precipitated by slavers, who took most of the population. Anybody who could read, basically, in the written language they had invented, to work on the west coast of South America. Also, a lot of those heads are full bodies that have sunk into the sandy soil.